So guess who's remaking the beginner tips video again? Yeah, it's me, cause there's a lot about that old video that's fairly scuffed, outdated, and I'll be honest, quite cringe, so here you all are! The video remake of another video remake of an old video. Every Arknights beginner tip that I can think of, from explaining basic gameplay functions to random pointers, to some other ones mentioned to me in the comments that I'd forgotten to include before. There is quite a bit of information, so get your notebooks out! We're starting with a basic one that you might even be doing without realizing it, retreating your operators right before they hit 0 HP. As retreating refunds half the DP you spent, rounded down if that number is odd, it's a nice way to gain back some DP if the operator's going to go down anyways. This works nicely for most scenarios, but do watch out as there are some cases where you do want the operator to take the hit. Boss mechanics, retargeting shenanigans, but it's a decision you'll have to make when the time comes. But you'll have plenty of time to consider the play, because the pause button exists. Please, use it often. You don't want to be that one doctor who came faster than their operators and lost the map because of it. Analyze the situation and unpause when you think you want to make a play. A lot can happen in a short amount of time, so being able to stop and think about it is an incredibly useful thing you can do. This is also how you can rapid fire deploy many operators in a short period of time. You don't have to ignore that gameplay function and turn yourself into a masochist. Unless you're into that stuff, then disregard this bit. And while you're paused, you might be wondering why you can't, just check on your operators and activate skills. Well, you can, but you have to click on the operator first before pausing, then you're able to look at everything. And for more precise timing, since the info menu slows down the game, you can continue to pause and unpause for that perfectly timed skill activation. Something else that also exists is the auto redeploy function. Just make sure you tap on the repeat thing beside the auto deploy button and you'll get the combined rewards for the number of times you set it up for. Easy farming stuff. The time you save does add up as you're doing your dailies, so you can do other things, like what I do and sleep a little longer in the morning. Wake up, set the auto, go back to sleep. Happy days. If you're struggling on a stage, don't be afraid of using friend supports, the orange thing before you start the map. And they'll scale based on the highest promoted operator on the squad, whether it's Elite 0, 1, or 2. The skills are restricted to the promotion too, by the way. You can set friend supports yourself in the Friends tab on the bottom left on the main screen, or drop your favorites for them to see, which may or may not help them depending on the operator choice. But what else can these friends do? As you may know, in the reception room, you can collect 7 clues, submit them in a clue exchange process, and gain huge bonus credits after 24 hours. But while your friends are doing that whole clue exchange thing, you can visit them yourselves through the friends menu for 30 credits per visit. Keep in mind that you can only visit a particular friend once per exchange, up to 10 different friends per day, so fill up that friends list. Start by going to that add button and typing in pixelferret #3055 and sending a request. Thought this guy could use more friends to max out that friends list, which is what you want for the best chance at those daily 10-time credit visits. But wait, there's more credits to get. Though slightly more hidden and only available weekly, in your reception room when you zoom in, there's a thing you can click on towards the right, giving you up to 300 credits based on how many friends visited you during clue exchanges. Now with all those credits, you can buy out a good chunk of the credit store. And it's honestly really satisfying when you're able to purchase everything available that day. Let's talk about squad building. When you're starting out, your focus is probably getting that first initial squad up and running. You probably don't want to immediately spend all your resources across 12 operators at once, cause that's a lot. Nor do you want to bet it all on a single operator, unless it's a summoner. In a squad-based game, every operator has their niche. Someone is the healer, the damage taker, the one that pushes enemies into the infinite abyss, that kind of stuff. There are obviously exceptions, especially if they're considered meta. Looking at you, Weesadel. But consider your first squad as an opportunity to learn the game and its role-based dynamics. I encourage you to explore the game's mechanics, cause there's a lot to unpack, instead of immediately throwing your explosive waifu at the problem and seeing big number go boom. My personal recommendation is to upgrade a few core operators to start with, then adding to that depending on what you want. Good time for you to use those operator selector tickets, by the way. Then when you have built your first squad, you can use it as a framework to improve upon it, as you've likely obtained and upgraded more operators by that point. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, should I build my 3 and 4 star operators then? Yeah, you very much should. Within reason, of course. They even cost fewer resources than units who are higher rarity, enabling you to get that first squad going faster. Many of them are still pretty usable or even just good as your account progresses. I've thrown some recommendations on the screen if you don't know where to start looking, and to add to that, the 3 and 4 stars are useful in alternative game modes. Your integrated strategies experience will thank you later. And I guess I'll mention stationary security service to the 12 people that actually bother with it. Oh, and algorithmic reclamation algorithm. That one. I even forgot what it was called. More on operator info, you may have noticed that every operator has a different branch class within one of the 8 main ones. For example, Steward and Lava are both casters dealing arts damage, but are fundamentally different in how they function. One is a core caster and the other a splash caster. While a core caster fires at a moderate pace, targeting one enemy at a time, the splash caster is more sluggish but hits in an area. There's also other differences like different attack ranges, DP cost, all that, so do make sure you have the right operators for the job. I've talked about operators for a bit now, but how do we get more without wasting your limited resources, especially the main gacha currency, orundum? I'll start with the recruitment function, which does not cost your orundum supply. They instead use easily obtainable vouchers, so you can just fire away with them. Recruitment has its own pool consisting of older operators, but there aren't really consequences for using the function, so you might as well. Set a time, pick your tags, and see what you get. But maybe don't just blindly do it. The time you set determines minimum rarity. Additionally, the longer the time is set, higher the chances of the tag staying on, and that is key for tag combinations that guarantee anything above 3 stars. Depending on what tags are set, as long as the tag stays on as you wait out those 9 hours, you will obtain those 4-star and above operators. Every once in a while, you'll be graced with a senior or top operator tag, granting you a 5 or 6 star respectfully. So don't hit that refresh button. I accidentally sacrificed my senior operator tag to bring you this disheartening footage. Onto the gacha part of the gacha game. What's the difference between each type of banner? You have the event banner, usually featuring specific operators tied to limited time events. For instance, chapter 16 of the main story has recently come out at the time of making this video, and so the current event banner features the newest couple operators. After the event is done, the new operators are added to the regular standard pool. And as you'd expect, the standard banner is a pool of already released operators, with certain ones having a higher chance of being pulled every so often. As the standard pool gets flooded with too many characters, the older ones get taken out and put into the kernel headhunting pool, essentially the retirement home. And usually not worth pulling for unless you really want certain operators, because there are some good ones in there, but you're spending your pulls on that. But not to worry, there is a way to get them without spending your hard-earned orundum. More on that in a moment. And then there are limited banners. Luckily for all of us, these things only happen seasonally. Typically reserved for every half a year to celebrate anniversaries of the game, the thing to be aware of is the existence of limited operators, 1 per limited banner, and not added to the standard pool like the others. They instead appear in a shop waiting to be bought after you gotcha'd a whopping 300 times on a future limited banner. And no, the currency does not carry over either. It has to be all in one go. I'll also mention collaboration banners, because they're the real limited banners, only available when their event happens. So sorry to all the dual blade mains, Tachanka memers, and Av Muchika enthusiasts. You may notice as you do the gacha, you've been given these ticket-looking things. They are used in these monthly refreshing certificate shops. On top of the search you get from gachaing, duplicates of operators past potential 6 can be exchanged using a button on the bottom left. The green search shop has 3 pages, each subsequent one unlocking as you buy out the entire stock. Page 1 is always worth buying for access to page 2, which contains the following and should be bought at your own discretion. Gacha tickets for the gambling addiction, recruitment vouchers for if you want to use the recruitment function some more, blue tier materials if you need to upgrade but are running low on that material, and specific 3 and 4 star operator vouchers for if you're that desperate for a certain unit. Page 3 is LMD and orundum, but I'll be honest, unless you're donating your life savings to Hypergriff, in today's economy by the way, it's a bit of a scam. I'll only highlight a couple things in the yellow certificate shop. Particular operators are available for direct purchase here, especially depending on who is being featured on the standard and kernel headhunting banners. Also available here are everyone's favorite commodity for non-discrete gambling, gacha tickets. Buying one enables the next purchase tier until you finish it all off, and you do want to buy all of it at once because the price per gacha pull becomes more worth it. For your reference, you'll need 258 yellow certificates to get them all, and then the blue certificate shop, similar to green but more limited and has older stuff like event skins. On the gacha currency side of things, there's daily and weekly missions, particular shops, converting originium if you don't care about buying skins, producing it in your base if you want to sell your soul, and then we have annihilation. You know, those stages with 400 enemies to clear out. The weekly 1800 orundum rewards reset Mondays, so it's a good one to grind out until you hit the maximum. Or maybe you don't have to grind. The benefit to logging in every day and doing the daily missions is this particular reward, the regular tasks proxy card, which allows you to shortcut the 20 to 30 minutes of waiting on every auto deploy. Which, by the way, it is such a time saver. For the longest time, we did not have this quality of life change. It was so painful just having your device on the side, having to just leave it 20 to 30 minutes. Oh, it was a whole thing. Yeah, use this, please. Do your dailies. Speaking of grinding, how do you know what stages to spend your sanity on? Well, besides the tab with the rotating maps depending on the day, there is also limited time events. The ones I'm specifically talking about are the ones that are paired with a special gacha banner. Old examples are on screen, but generally speaking, since the drop rates are much better during these event stages, you want to grind out these nice blue tiered materials usually found on the last 3 stages. These are the regular stages, so not the EX or S ones. But what about all those older side stories that are permanently available? There are welfare operators you can pick up. Luckily, not only are many welfare operators pretty good, you have a nifty tab that tells you who comes from where and which ones have rewards available, as old events and rewards get added on over time. But unlike the previously mentioned type of event, these ones do not give you the same boosted material drop rates. When they first came out they did, but not anymore when they're added as permanent stages. One more thing you should optimize is the base function. It's your main source of passive resources, so having a good setup will help you in the long run. Now, I'm not the base expert, I mostly run the standard 2-4-3 setup, 3-3-3 if I feel like rage baiting people. But the point being, it is very beneficial getting that base up and running as soon as possible. That is all I'll say before I start another war in my comments section about the optimal base. You'll figure it out quickly enough. But however you're setting it up, be sure to produce enough iridium ingots in the factories to sell away at the trading posts, and your remaining available factories can make operator EXP tickets. Also drones, they exist, use them to speed up stuff, they're perfectly expendable. Maybe just don't accidentally spend your sanity on extra drones, that'd be quite bad. So I mentioned game mechanics earlier. Arknights has a large number of simple systems, but it's when things are combined together when things get a bit more complex. So here are explanations on some of the more basic ones. There are 2 main damage types that get thrown around. Physical, which is resisted by the defense stat, and arts, which is mitigated by the arts resistance stat. Knowing this is important for cases like the shield guy who has high defense but low arts resistance. Physical damage will just plink off of them while arts damage will burn them to a crisp. They also have different formulas in which the damages are calculated. Physical has a flat damage defense formula with a 5% minimum damage, while Arts has a percentage-based calculation with a 1% minimum. The minimum damages are there so you can at least do some amount of damage, though it's not exactly ideal. The damage applies both ways, so you could be the one with 100 Arts resistance against the fiery pits of hell itself. True damage ignores any form of damage reduction. It comes up less commonly, but it is something to be aware of, whether it's dealing damage to a really tanky enemy, or when death looms above your operators ready to obliterate your squad. You may notice that certain operators and enemies can inflict a little circle thingy. That is elemental damage. When the bar fills up, the target will take a harsh effect depending on the type of elemental damage. For example, an operator taking too much nervous impairment will be damaged and stunned for 10 seconds. If you're having trouble with elemental damage, I recommend Honeyberry from the easily accessible Red Certificate shop. Another thing to consider is the order in which you deploy your operators, as enemies with ranged attacks will prioritize the latest deployed operator in their attack range. You probably want a more durable operator to take hits rather than your squishy medics in the back. And if you're still not sure about something, test these things out in a practice mode. Found next to the start button when selecting a stage, you can play around with mechanics, operator shenanigans, team comps, all without accidentally spending your sanity when you clear the stage, or when you have no sanity, but still want to play the game. Finally, for the final thing I want to talk about is what to recommend if you plan on spending money. And no, robbing Jessica does not count. I can say with confidence it's going to be the monthly card, given you log in every day. Not only are you getting 6,000 orundum over 30 days, equivalent to 10 gacha pulls, the extra daily sanity potions are valuable for grinding out extra materials you may need. In terms of dollar value to pull count, it is quite good. Okay, I know that was a lot of information, but hopefully this video has helped you out in navigating the game a bit better. Let me know in the comments if there's some cool useful things I missed here, cause let's be honest, I'm probably still forgetting a few after the second remake of the same video. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I hope you stick around with this awesome game.